The latest. Thank you for your love and support. I appreciate you all. Since February 28, 2026, the world has been held hostage. With the Strait of Hormuz closed, 20% of the world's oil is trapped. Global prices are screaming past $100 a barrel. But while the West scrambles, a quiet revolution is happening in the heart of Southern Africa. For decades, we have been told Africa is a landlocked or dependent. But Botswana's President Dumaboko just issued a wake-up call to the continent. He said, enough is enough. We can no longer continue to be dependent on other people when we can actually free ourselves. Today we go into the tripartite alliance between Angola, Zambia, and Botswana. They aren't just building a refinery, they are building a new Africa, the biggest oil refinery in Africa. To understand why this is happening now, you have to look at the energy trap. Currently, Botswana gets the vast majority of its fuel from South Africa. But South Africa is in trouble too. 20% of South African oil comes through the blocked Strait of Hormuz. Another 80% from Nigeria. Think about that. To get fuel to a car in Gaborone, oil has to travel from Nigeria or the Middle East, be refined elsewhere, shipped to South African ports, then truck north. We are paying for 3 different middlemen just to get our lights on. When the Straits of Hormuz closed, our supply chain didn't just bend, it snapped. President Dumaboko realized that relying on a single neighbor who is also vulnerable is a recipe for national collapse. What is happening on the Straits is teaching us a lot. So, he entered Angola.
Nearly 20% of the world's oil passes through one narrow channel in the Middle East. With tensions spiking, landlocked Botswana isn't waiting for the pumps to run dry. President Masisi's government is pivoting to Angola, the continent's second largest oil producer, to secure fuel closer to home. This isn't just a purchase, it's a partnership. Botswana is eyeing a 30% slice of the new Lobito refinery. They get guaranteed access to refined petrol and diesel, bypassing the global supply chain chaos. This deal turns the Angola-Botswana axis into a Southern African energy powerhouse. It's about more than just fuel. It's about regional sovereignty and proving that Africa can refine its own future. Is this the end of Africa's dependence on Middle Eastern oil? I'm Grace Makinde. For more African diaspora news, visit afridiaspora.net.
Breaking. Africa is in position to make another power move. Angola is one of Africa's largest oil producers. With the war in Iran going on, Angola can fill the oil needs globally. And because of this, Angola becomes more valuable and strategic. The neighboring country, Botswana, has actually reached out because they are facing economic turmoil with the oil prices going up globally. And right now in Botswana, energy security is the #1 priority. Due to global supply chain disruption, Botswana is looking to decrease imports and increase home productivity, domestic productivity when it comes to oil and energy. Right now, Angola and Botswana are in negotiations because Botswana wants a stake in Angola's largest oil refinery. And in doing so, this produces energy security. Botswana will no longer have to rely on global oil markets and can just look to its neighbors and help them produce their own oil, making them self-reliant. This also causes economic growth for Botswana because, as I said before, this is an investment into Angola's refinery, meaning they will get money off of everything that Angola sells as well. This also helps Botswana's industrial sector because it gives them a steady fuel supply when it comes to things like transportation and mining. And this makes Botswana a key energy partner in the southern part of Africa. Because of this, Botswana will have a lot more jobs coming in because we need engineers to refine the oil and we need people to transport oil. This builds their local economy. Also forcing education to become more important because we need people to fill these roles. By controlling a part of the refining process, Botswana can stabilize fuel prices and can now act as a buffer or help out when global oil supply chains are in disarray, like what is going on in Iran. What does Angola get from this partnership? First, let's start off with the fact that they make money off of this because Botswana is looking to invest, which means give money to help build infrastructure to then help them make more money. This also stabilizes their market because Botswana becomes a reoccurring customer, reducing Angola's dependence on uncertain global oil demands. And while they work together, they trade expertise. Say steel sharpens steel. This dynamic between Angola and Botswana is great because this will influence other African countries to work together, or this may influence other southern African countries to contact Angola, strengthening Angola and also strengthening the rest of the southern part of Africa. So I hope to see other African countries follow the leader on this one.
Enter Angola. For years, Angola was the crude king, exporting raw oil to Europe and China while importing expensive refined petrol. It made no sense. But under President João Lourenço, the narrative has shifted. Angola is finishing the Lobito oil refinery, a $6 billion beast capable of processing 200,000 barrels per day. Angola doesn't want to just sell rocks and liquid anymore. They want to sell value. They aren't doing it alone. This is where the Pan-African narrative gets real. This isn't just Angola's project. Zambia has already locked in a 25% equity stake. They are building the Azu pipeline, an 870-mile artery from the Atlantic coast of Lobito straight into Lusaka. Botswana was recently offered a massive 30% stake. President Boko didn't just ask for fuel, he asked for ownership. This is a solidarity economy. By owning the refinery, these nations aren't just customers, they are the board of directors. They control the prices, they control the flow. They are cutting out the Middle East and the European refineries entirely. And why should we have all these things and still be dependent on other people, exporting crude oil and buying expensive petrol? When President Boko visited Luanda in March 2026, he changed the game. He didn't just sign a trade deal. He requested the Angola state oil giant Sonago buy fuel on behalf of Botswana. Why? Because when we buy together, we are a superpower. When we buy alone, we are victims of the market. And this is what we have been doing as Africans, sort of always doing things together to save ourselves. Boko's message is clear. Africa has the land. Now Africa has the will to build a processing plant that keeps our wealth on the continent. Enough of the African always being the victim of situation, because we saw that when this thing happened within the shortest possible time, Botswana President Duma Boko came out crying that they have only 9 days of survival when it comes to fuel, because we are not prepared. And we cannot continue to be talking, solving the African problem in speech. We need to find means and ways in order to make sure we are self-sufficient. We can't continue to be dependent on other people. We can't sell the crude oil cheap and pay huge sums of money to import this. Export cocoa cheap and import chocolate very expensive, to the point that we, those that are producing the cocoa, can't even afford it. That is what is happening to us. We keep exporting the raw form of everything that we have in Africa. Look at what Dangote is doing. But the same people that we trust so much came out to tell us that it doesn't meet their standard. And we ask our leaders, are we doing things per the standard of Africa or per the standard of the same people who do not want to see Africa move forward? Our leaders must learn from what is happening currently in the Middle East so we can build ourselves. The same people who promise us that they are going to use their navy, they are going to call on allies to help us open the straits because things are surging in the world market, are now telling us that we should cry our own cry. As if they are not the same people who caused the blockade at the first place. And for how long will we continue to see other people to be the saviors of Africa when we have the land, like Dumaboko said? We have the land, we have the resources. What we can use is what we are giving to other people. And then at the end of the day, we go back there and buy it very expensive. Africa, we shouldn't be lacking oil. But look at the unity, how it's playing out. When Botswana said, no, we don't have to buy the oil individually. We need to go together in the name of a nation. And this is the unity we are talking about. This is the Pan-African spirit we are talking about. Let's start doing things collectively as a people. People are taking advantage over the continent because of this division. And the same people, because they are benefiting and making sure the Africans do not unite. And for how long will we continue as Africans to be dividing ourselves, to be giving out everything that we have and be exporting it very expensive, the finished product? Must we continue to be talking about solving the problem of the African in speech? And when we finish and move away from African Union, all that we said becomes a thing of the past. Because our leaders have been speaking. We have been importing the finished good all the time and we keep talking and nothing changes. But we hope that what is happening in the Middle East will at least put our leaders to work. And the rest will also follow the steps of Zambia, Angola, and Botswana. We are the only ones that can set ourselves free. United we stand, divided we fall. And united we keep standing forever and ever. The greatest enemy of the African is mental slavery. So let's decolonize ourselves from mental slavery. Let's keep sharing to educate our brothers and sisters. Together we'll make Africa great for ourselves and the next generations that are going to come. So that's the latest around the world, in Africa, Southern Africa, and in Botswana.